11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Guerrero won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Smile from Manny Pacquiao. Oh, counter serve!
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
Yo, Calix just came back from the gym, y'all. He was at the gym. You know what I mean?
Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
Quite Japanese, but
you love that soundbite. You love that
I
soundbite.
just can't believe that dude wasn't so surprised. I didn't know he came in shape. You know, out of all things you could have said, I mean, that shouldn't have been the surprising part, right? I mean, it's like Timothy Bradley, like anybody below 130, they're just not that athletic. You know what I mean?
You love that soundbite.
You know? I mean,
it is a ground.
Peak, I don't know if you know this, Calix. The peak of athleticism starts at 140 pounds. Like that's the peak. That's like the mountaintop. It just happens to be where Timothy Bradley just happened to start his career. You know what I mean?
We got Jesus M in the building. Mantis is in the building. They're ready. D-Style wheelchair man. John Demetrio, Andre Rodriguez. From the second favorite. Did you know that my second favorite country is what was it? Portugal. My second favorite country is Portugal. Did you know that?
First favorite.
I speak USA, but do you know I speak a little Portuguese? So it's actually
Spanish is not Portuguese.
It's actually my tied for my second favorite country with Japan and Mexico as well. So it's a three-way tie.
What's up with your problem with Mexico? What's it's not good enough?
Anthony Sanchez, Chicano Prophet, Hybrid 25, us. So these stuff. First of all, hit the like, by the way, guys. Hit the like button first of all.
Come on,
hit the like button first of all. Get it up in the chat. Pause. So make sure the push is always 100 likes. And what is this? Like my last show didn't get 100 likes.
Was it like that annoying 90? Like, you know what I mean?
It broke my streak. I was on a good streak of 100. It broke the streak. They didn't do their job. Hit the like, right? That's all we ask.
I think what happens once it's starting to reach 100, like dudes go back and they like withhold their like, they take it back.
Yeah, they take it back. Ask your Tia to hit the like. Ask your children, ask your grandchildren, ask your abuela, your abuelo. Ask them all to hit that like button. Come on, let's get that like button going. I hope Calix checks D-Style for having the gall to leave Loma off the pound for pound list.
Well, I heard Calix has had him on the pound for pound list for a couple of months now, according to some dudes on here. So your top 10 pound for pound list came out, and it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. And look, you don't have Usyk on for like that's your criteria, and I'm totally fine with that. You don't put heavyweights on the criteria. That's fine. So it makes this easier for you. You just get to pick between in a way Bud on who is number one. So if Usyk wins this weekend, it's not difficult. So this is the issue. Like in a way, Crawford, Canelo, you could have left that comment right there in the bottom. You could have just let it kind of just sit there. You know what I mean?
But I want him to see what the problem is, and the problem is at the bottom right there.
It's kind of disrespectful to just take off the comment of Chicano Prophet and all that effort he put in to put that comment, and then you just remove it. You know what I mean?
So this would be my argument. It's not going to be a debate. We're not going to turn this into a debate. This would be my argument. Okay. I feel like you did a good job of rewarding both what's going on currently with resume. It's tough. It's becoming tougher to put together a top 10 pound for pound list because dudes aren't active enough. There's not much separation between these fighters. You have fighters who are fighting twice per year who don't necessarily look as talented as some of the fighters fighting once per year, but do you dock these fighters who are less active? Right. So a lot of that stuff going on, right? The young American fighters are getting onto the list and then falling off because their stock is so up and down. They're so inconsistent, and that's why a Canelo stays on, right? Because he's just the model of consistency.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of the young American fighters also, in my opinion, get like a little overrated. People just anointing, you know what I mean? Like anointment syndrome. There it is. And then when they look a little human in some of their fights, then people take them off the pound for pound list because, well, those same people overrated them though. Right. Yeah. That's another issue.
So I think you did a good job 1 through 9 of rewarding, balancing the activity with consistency, all that stuff, inactivity, etc. with resume. And checking your eye test, right? Because the eye test doesn't become reality until these guys actually fight each other. So number 10, Tank, and it pops up there, right? Tank at the bottom. So my issue with Tank is multifold. And number one, by the time he fights, it'll be 14 months in between fights. And you could throw out examples of publications who have similar things. Errol Spence on the pound for pound list. He's chronically inactive. Mel was on the list after a long time being active. But generally, I think guys who have that inactive streak, they will stay on the list because they have a resume to back it up. I don't understand Tank particularly over Lomachenko. And people are going to say, yeah, but Lomachenko slipped. I get all that, right? But you have two guys in the same weight class. You have a guy who, on Monday on my show, I chronicled all the articles the past 8 years of Mayweather and Tank saying it's not the right time. It's not the right time. We'll do the Lomachenko fight when it's the right time. And then it was never the right time. And meanwhile, you got a guy who puts together a 10-fight consistent run in the same weight class, and one guy who avoids the top 3 or 4 in the weight class, 5 within the weight class for a half decade now. Mm-hmm. So I'm just tired of this guy getting mythical victories off of fighters that he refuses to fight, number one. And number two, if he's not fighting those fights, I have to assume for a reason why he's not fighting those fights is because they don't trust him to go out there and win those fights. And the O is a lot of his aura, which is a shame because I think he's got a lot more than that. He's more layered than that. So when it comes to Tank, it's a flimsy argument for him in the top 10. It's extremely flimsy because you can give examples of other fighters within the weight class who are more deserving of that top 10 pound for pound list. And it's not as easy for them to fly off the charts as far as eye test because they're facing tougher competition. And number two, you're strictly going off the eye test at that point. You're strictly going off the eye test with Tank. And I think if that's what you're going with, I think Boots looks better as far as the eye test than Tank. That would be my argument. Of another fighter who I would put, if we're just going off the eye test, I'd put Boots over Tank. So I just don't think the guy has done enough. It rubs me the wrong way when he gets accolades that I don't feel like he's skipped the process. He's circumvented that process that fighters go through generally to get on that top 10 pound for pound list is my argument. Lomachenko has gone through that process. It's going to look sketchier at times because he's going through that process. Tank has gone around that process, and of course he's going to look great. Of course he's going to look like on the eye test one of the top dozen fighters in the world, but at some point you got to back that up in reality. So what's your argument?
So keep in mind that it's going to fluctuate, and it's going to I believe in a fluid pound for pound list. I don't believe in like you keep your spot and you're locked in the way I'm seeing Errol Spence locked in.
Yeah.
Despite losing in horrific fashion, by the way, in one-sided fashion, plus the inactivity is kind of surprising. Plus the guy who last beat just got beat by Mario Barrios. I mean, it's not looking good, right? In terms of keeping him on the top 10 pound for pound, right? Look, I get it. I have a lot of the, if not all, of the same criticisms that you do, right? Um, Look, there's a lot of guys. Taraji, you could put him on the pound for pound list. There's a lot of guys that are very deserving of being on there, and I considered him. He's just right outside my top 10, but I did have like Tank on number 11, and the reason he's on the list now is because Devin Haney lost in one-sided fashion to. Well, I wouldn't say one-sided. I think people are gaslighting now. I think Ryan clearly won, but I think Haney won like 5 rounds in my book, so it wasn't that one-sided.
Right.
Yeah, I think people are trying to paint this picture. It was like another Crawford Spence, and it wasn't. But nonetheless, he lost, so he's off the list. So that explains why Tank's on there. Now, somebody might say, "Well, I thought 11 before was too high." I'll admit, I think a lot of the main reason why he's on there is because of his talent, is how good I think he is. I'll be honest with you. If Tank Davis fought Lomachenko tomorrow, I would pick Tank Davis to win. I'm not saying I'm that confident about it. I'm not saying Loma can't beat him, but I would pick Tank to win that fight. I would pick Tank to beat Shakur right now. I would pick Tank to beat most guys. Even Haney, if Haney came back down for whatever reason, or if they met at 140, I would favor Tank. I've always favored Tank to beat Devin Haney. Now I get that's mythical. I get that doesn't really matter until he has to actually go out there and do it. And I also consider the fact that he's about to fight. He's going to fight pretty soon, and I'm keeping Bivol on there despite the fact that Bivol hasn't done anything significant since the Zurdo fight. Bivol actually dropped one spot, and Canelo gained a spot because this list was done after the Canelo Munguia fight.
Mhm.
So I do consider activity, of course, but I'm weighing it with talent, and of course, resume is important as well. But I would argue that if Tank had the resume and if Tank actually fought a lot of these guys, I would argue he would have beat them. Although we don't know until he does it, and he would have been the top 3, maybe number 1 on the list. That's how talented I think he is.
So I feel like 10 for a lot of people, maybe even 9, have become placeholders. Do you feel that way? Like it's become a very fluid situation down there, and because nobody seems to be putting together consistency. And I felt, and I told somebody this, it almost feels like 8 through 20. There's not much separation there. There are a lot of guys that you would say anywhere between 11 and 20 could get in there, but nobody seems to be making strong cases down there. And I'm waiting to update my pound for pound list till after this weekend because Opetia is a guy who's right out on the outside. You're on mute.
Oh shit! So look, I'm not above like, I could look at even my list and say I could have done this, I could have done that, but I already did it, right? So next month will be an update, but so I'm open to all arguments because I consider everything. I actually had Taraji number 10. And then I removed him, and then I put 10, like because
he's
I was
another guy, right? Like I see the resume, but I watch him fight, and I'm like, something just seems to be missing for a top 10 pound.
And another guy I considered was Navarrete. Like I thought,
Yep.
look, this is a guy, he might just become a 4-division world champion. He's beat some solid guys.
He's in his 7th weight class.
And then Shakur, he was like a dark horse, but I kind of have him over here right now because I wasn't that impressed with his last performance. And to me, look, I don't consider excitement as part of a criteria per se.
But performances, right?
But performances and how you win does matter. Like, it's one thing to dunk the ball. It's another how you do it, which is why they had dunking contests, right? It's how you perform. It's how you do it. Do you do like, and what type of, like, are you doing it under the line of fire? Are you doing it safety first? Like, that matters to me, bro. Like, it matters to me that Zepeda, for example, another guy who's kind of lingering in the top 20 right now, and just I'm looking for that big win for he could get in the top 10. like that's another guy, right? But look at how he beat Hughes. He just dominated him and destroyed him, right? That's just how I look at it. And Better Be, by the way, is another guy who's kind of like,
yeah, he's hanging on, right?
He's hanging on, yeah, he's hanging on for sure, no doubt about it.
And then you got a bunch of guys like Virgil Ortiz, Boots, Tim Tszyu.
Tim Tszyu's probably number 10, bro. If he wins that fight, he's probably number 10.
Yeah, I'd have him there.
Jai Opetia is like.
Opetai's right there. He's right there.
He's just in that division that like people
America doesn't care about.
Like and unfortunately, like Briedis is older, and it's not the same Briedis that fought Usyk, for example, right? So that like that's kind of like something it's unfair to Jai. You could only fight who's in front of him, and they put him in there with Zurdo. Like it's not really gonna help him with his argument, but and then me, I ban. So if he moves up to heavyweight, Jai is not going to make my list at all. So, but Jai, I am considering him, and I know you saw my video. I did explain why I don't put heavyweights on the.
Yeah, and I think that's historically solid. But there are precedents of Ring Magazine, 90s, 80s, putting heavyweights on there.
I call it.
I don't have career heavyweights on there. Like I would never have Fury on there because it's hard to have a guy who is the baddest man on the planet and then the pound for pound man on the planet. But I give exception for a guy moving up from cruiserweight.
Yeah, I could see that argument. And people they don't like it, bro. They don't like the fact that Usyk's not on the list.
Yeah.
Plus, if Usyk wasn't on the list, Tank wouldn't be on the list, right? So
that's criteria though. Like they can't argue. It's your criteria. It's your list.
Yeah, but I guess my argument is, it's just a Sugar Ray Robinson rule. That's what I call it, right? Yep. Before there was lists, because I believe Ring Magazine was the first to come out with an actual top 10 pound for pound list. I believe they were the first ones, and they did include heavyweights, right?
Yeah,
I think Tyson was in the first one, if I remember correctly, for my research, but it was years ago. But they came up with the term pound for pound was they came up for it for the little guys. It's the truth.
Yep. Any last thoughts on Loma before we move forward? I know we've given our thoughts, but as far as what do you think he's going to do next? Do you think he's going to stick around?
Here's the thing about Loma. So he is 36. There's a lot of people don't think there's a lot of wear and tear, I guess, because he's had like 20 professional fights. But keep in mind, all these were Loma didn't do any 4-rounders, guys. He didn't do any 6-rounders against journeyman, and like he didn't like just add the 20 fights with a bunch of no-hopers and add it to his record, and you would kind of get the record that just any other guy has. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But
especially if you count this World Series of Boxing.
I think Timothy Bradley broke the code. It's just that now he's got to fight all these athletic dudes. He wasn't fighting the athletic dudes before. You know what I mean?
Here we go.
But no. Look, what he is now is very similar to Canelo, right? He's that savvy veteran. He's even like he still has like really good ring generalship in that ring.
Yep.
I thought he was a ring general against Haney, which is I still find it so surprising that they didn't give him that win. I am very surprised. I honestly think people that picked Haney, that scored it for Haney, did some acrobatics to get there, right? Where it's very easy. The pathway to give it to Loma is very easy. But when I say he's a ring general, he controlled the action. He controlled the pace of the fight against a younger fighter, a much bigger fighter, by the way. And he had Haney going back to his corner telling his dad, like, he's got me figured out pretty much, right? Because he understands the ring. He's a ring general in there, as I mentioned. And I think his punching power is underrated. I get he came up from featherweight. I get that. But he's still one of the best body punchers in the game. And he's like his situational intelligence in the ring it's not going to go anywhere. Whether you could pull the trigger as quickly as he used to is a different story. I know people are saying he's losing a little pep in his step. Well, that's what happens when you're 36 years old. But I'll tell you what, though, against a lot of these lightweights, despite what Timothy Bradley says, they're actually like the issues he's having with them is that they're bigger and they have more punch resistance.
Yeah.
But the advantage he has is that he's like, even at this age, he's quicker than them, right? His footwork is better. And these guys, they plot a little more, right? Despite what Timothy Bradley says, they plot a little more than the guys at featherweight, than the Gary Russells and guys like that. It is what it is. Is Gary Russell not athletic enough for Timothy Bradley? What's going on is what I want to know.
For guys with, I'll tell you this, in every sport, if you get footwork down and you have great footwork, your chances of being, your chances of being successful later on. It's why Europeans are winning in basketball right now. Is they get their footwork down. They're very precise on footwork, and because of that, you have athletes who are able to extend their careers if they have this great footwork down and the fundamentals down earlier on in the career. And I think Loma's one of those guys. He may not be quicker than these guys step per step, but his footwork is just precise.
Well, look, there might be some lightweights that have faster feet than him. I don't see that many of them. That's number one. Because the reason guys move up a lot of times in weight when they get older is because they need their opponents to get a little slower, right? That's almost a necessity. So, and they're not able to cut weight as easily as they used to is another thing, right? But I think Loma is that guy who he's walking around that weight, soaking wet. Loma can make 130, I believe. But he wants to fight at 135. Okay, cool. I still think he's one of the top fighters in the sport, and he's in that transition right now, right? Like where I think I never like it when guys just kind of say what's their prime, because it depends. There's your physical prime, right? And then there's your but then even when your physical prime is dropping, you're also retaining all that knowledge and experience that you've gotten over the years, right? And I would argue that a Lomachenko that maybe is a little slower, that perhaps doesn't have, it's just that little split second slower, whatever it is, him understanding that, I think might make him even more dangerous. I think it would make him more cerebral in the ring than he used to be. And that's going to play dividends for him, I believe. So I think he has a shot to beat anybody in this division. Even though I said earlier I would favor Tank to beat him, that's not like a slam dunk, I know for a fact type of thing. Like that's something I need to see. And hey, you know what I mean? And in my book, we should have an undisputed lightweight champion of the world, and this should have been his first defense. That's what we should have right now. And unfortunately, we don't. And I think that was taken from him, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And does he still want that? I have no idea, but we'll see. I would personally, Calix, I would love for him to go back down to 130. That's what I would like, but he ain't gonna do that. So,
yeah. So hit that like button. We will have Fury versus Usyk talk momentarily. Two other things I wanted to hit on before we get to Fury versus Usyk. Your boy Chavez Jr. is back, and he's back on. Is it the? Is it the? Oh, it's the Jake Paul card. He's on a Jake Paul
Tyson,
card. Yeah, Mike Tyson.
Schofield is fighting another undefeated prospect.
Yes,
card too.
He is. I like that fight a lot. Chavez is fighting Darren Till. Schofield, forgot.
He's fighting Ashton.
Yes, 11-0.
Yeah, Sylvie, I think, or something like that. Another good. I was watching some of his highlights earlier today, and he's pretty good. Like that's not a gimme.
It's not. It's not. That's a good undercard they're putting together. But they're angling for that Chavez Jr. Jake Paul fight. Still, we've been saying for years they need to do that fight, Jake Paul versus Chavez Jr., and I think they're going to do it. But he's on the undercard. Kid Schofield's on that undercard. He chose to fight on this card. instead of fighting Shakur Stevenson, and people would say that's a smart move because a lot of people are going to watch this fight, right? But it's still a tough fight with Sylv. This is a good card they're putting together. Any thoughts on that?
Look, I don't even know what the hell's going on with Chavez Jr., bro. This dude was beefing with his dad just a couple. I don't even know what it was about, quite frankly. His dad went on his on social media, bro. Was like putting him on blast, like, you know what I mean, like, and he was talking about how his dad used to hit him when he was a kid, and like, what's going on, bro? Like, what, like. So anyway, I don't think he said hit him, but he said like abuse. So like, I don't know if he meant mental abuse, or he shouted at him or what. I don't know, right? But the guy has issues. And then the next day they're taking a picture together at his crib. Like,
yeah, he's got issues.
Like, he's got issues. So I don't know what's going on. I got good word that guy didn't even train for the Anderson Silva fight. He was not in good condition at all. I saw some of his stories on Instagram, like before and after. He just wasn't all there. I don't know what that guy was in no condition to be fighting, and ended up losing to an MMA fighter, Anderson Silva. And I was thinking they're going to put him in there with another MMA fighter. If Chavez Jr. loses this fight to another MMA fighter, they need to strip him of the last name Chavez, right?
Yeah,
they need to just strip him of the name. Like you don't deserve that name. You know what I mean? It's just how I feel about it. All right, Nando Yama, listening from work. You know what I know what this is about. Like, you know what I mean? Like he wants a soundbite.
He wants it.
And we're gonna give him a soundbite. Like, it is what it is, because you know what, Nando?
He's a hard.
I'm a hard work.
Did it play?
You need to do it again. You need to.
I'm a hard
working man. Nando's been working hard, bro.
That's a hard working man. Little Brooks and Dunn, who, by the way, is in New Orleans this week. Brooks and Dunn, shout out to them. Wow. And shout out to Nando, hard working man. I don't know. I have no idea. So Boots Ennis is last topic before we get to Usyk Fury. I want your thoughts on this, because this is common sense, right? It's common sense. You put a guy in his hometown, especially if his hometown is Philadelphia. His hometown is Philadelphia. And it took Eddie Hearn finally coming and saying,
Pennsylvania, born and raised. You know?
Yeah. So it's been 6 years since this dude has fought in Pennsylvania, much less Philadelphia. For the love of God, can you put this dude in Philadelphia where he belongs, where his fans want to see him? He's a personal guy. Seems like a good guy. Seems like a consistent dude. Hard worker. Trains.
I'll tell you what happened, Calix. This is the real Fresh Prince story, right? He was born in Philadelphia, and he went on over to move. He went to move with his Uncle Al, right?
True.
And his Uncle Al, you know, he was comfortable there. He was living at the mansion.
He kept him in a nice little bubble.
That's right, man. They just kept him around, and well, Uncle Al threw him out. The way threw Jazz out the door, and he got tired of just like being held back, but you know, and now, because he wasn't quite like Uncle Phil. Uncle Al's not like Uncle Phil,
no,
right?
He's not.
So now he went with Trust Fanetti, right? And Trust Fanetti is like, no, you're gonna go back to Philadelphia, and let me tell you something. A lot of people have so much to say, and like I saw people already throwing shots, like, oh, they're not gonna sell any tickets, and like, I don't know, man. I think it sounds just fine, actually.
Yeah.
And Philadelphia, brother, is, okay, I'll say it, Rocky. Okay, fine, right? Even though it's a fictional character, but still, there's an association with Rocky, right?
Joe Frazier,
Maldrick Taylor, Bernard Hopkins, brother. You have a rich history.
What a waste, right? For years.
Yeah, like that is a fight town, bro. That's what that is. That's a fight town. And if Matchroom doesn't do the clip of Crowley running up the stairs and doing the Rocky Balboa, you're missing out. Like, market this fight, bro.
Yep.
But they did a press conference. They talked. Rawley's trainers talking a little bit of crap, and Crowley just sat there. Did I call him Rawley? But Crowley just sat there with a smile on his face, and Boots talking about going to hurt this dude and this and that. I love it. Because that's what boxing is all about, and I like it. I just like the idea of fights and not everything has to be in Vegas, bro. Like, not every and I'm tired of this whole everything needs to be on. If you want to be a star, you got to be on pay-per-view, and all this out. It's just a lot of this is outdated thinking. A lot of this we just have to not do anything, and one day we'll just randomly put you on pay-per-view and see your pay-per-view star. All that shit, done with it, bro. Boots Ennis wasted a good 2-3 years of his youth, bro, of his prime over there. And I get it. I already know what they're going to do, Calix. I already know it. He wasn't with PBC. You know he wasn't with PBC, right? These guys, they don't know. They don't know the business of boxing. They don't know that he wasn't with PBC. Shut the fuck up, okay? He was stuck over there with Uncle Al. All right? He was stuck over there. It is what it is. Right? Whether I know he was just like Phil. He wasn't actually part of the family, but he was there.
He was stuck over there with Hillary and Ashley and Carlton doing his little dance. He's stuck over there instead of being in Philly where he belongs.
It Tank's like Carlton, right? I've seen that video of Tank dancing like Carlton. And he's always watching Tank in his underwear, dancing. It's just kind of what am I doing here? Right? Oh, don't worry. We're going to put you in the undercard of a Tank fight and you're going to blow up. I don't know what they were telling him. And then his dad admits that they could have gotten a Crawford fight, but we're loyal to Showtime.
Yep.
Why the fuck would any fighter be loyal to? I don't care who it is. I don't care. If it's Eddie Hearn, I don't care if it's Frank Warren. I don't give a shit if it's Uncle Al. Brother, you're supposed to do what's best for you, okay? Not for fucking what Showtime. Showtime ain't even around no more, bro.
They gone. Look, and it took a European promoter, because there's no casinos out there, to say, now we're going to put fighters in their hometowns. Duh. We're going to put Regis in his hometown. And that leverages him the Haney fight.
By the way, I just say something real quick, Alex. This people keep repeating this thing that no one went to the Regis Progress fight. There was at least 3,000 to 4,000 people there, right? So
yes,
this idea that nobody went, 4,000 to 5,000, nobody went. It's just again, people just want to. It was an arena that fits 20,000. Can you argue that maybe the venue was too big?
Yeah.
Yes, you could argue that, but stop saying that nobody went. It's ridiculous, bro. Okay, but we got shows in Cali that do 3,000. Oh, it's sold out. He's a star, and all this other nonsense. It's crazy, bro. Look, at the end of the day, Eddie ain't doing that bad. But I just wanted to throw that point in.
But the blueprint is right with the American fighters he's signing. Is Regis, your first fight is at home, and then we'll get you to the second fight that's going to be big. Haney, we're going to give you your fight. That's a better example, right? San Francisco, and they sell out that arena or get close to it, was 15,000 plus. And then he gets a big fight with Ryan Garcia. And I think the same thing with Boots Ennis is going on, because we're going to put you in Philly. And I think it's the European mind state, not just the European mind state, Japanese Australian mindset, is there's no casinos, Indian reservations where you just go for the highest side fee and put guys in the middle of nowhere. We talked about Cambosos versus Maxie Hughes being in the great state of Oklahoma, right? And it's a beautiful state, great state of Oklahoma. You hate on it, but it's a good state. But it's not Texas, but it's a great state nonetheless, great people. But that fight does not belong there. Why are you putting an Australian guy versus a European guy in Oklahoma? What is going on? So there's this mindset that's been going on for boxing for decades that we've talked about, putting fights where they don't belong. And then dudes are going to get mad at Turkey Al-Sheikh and fighters fighting in Saudi Arabia where they don't belong. It's refreshing to have a guy say, we have a Philly fighter, right? and Philly's historically a fight town, right? So yeah, let's go to Philly with this guy and let's sell out this arena. And from what we're hearing, they're opening up more parts of the arena as each week goes by, and I think it's going to do
for a dude that's been hiding in Uncle Al's fucking mansion for the last 4 or 5 years. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
It's almost as if people have been waiting for this, right? It's almost as if the people in Philly have been waiting
patiently waiting, yeah.
But not only them, like boxing fans have been waiting for, please, somebody unleash this guy. Please, somebody unleash this guy on the welterweight division. Maybe he can move up to 154 because he's supremely talented. Let's see this. But for 7 years, they've been saying, we know the business and you need to wait. And we're going to put this guy on it. Why is he on undercards? Why are you putting Baby in the corner? Why is this guy in undercards? He belongs as a main event fighter. And now we've got that. He belongs in his hometown. Now we've got that. So I'm glad to see it. Look,
and speaking of Philadelphia, anybody ever get a chance, look up Benny Briscoe, hell of a fighter, okay? And another thing about Philadelphia, okay? This whole Mayweather invented this. That's called the Philly shell.
Yeah.
Okay? It's called the Philly shell. All right? That's what it's called.
Philly.
Where did that start? Philly shell. Okay, just like where's the Philly cheesesteak from? The Philly cheesesteak from? From Philly.
It's not from Connecticut.
Philadelphia. Okay. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Benny Briscoe. If anybody ever wants to look him up, great fighter.
So let's get to it. Let's get to the big topic: Fury versus Usyk, the first undisputed heavyweight championship of the world in 25 years. We're going to have an undisputed heavyweight champion. We've been asking for this for several years. Some people have been asking for it earlier than others. I asked for this when the Klitschko's both held belts and said, hey, look, y'all can't do this. You can't have two dudes. You can't have a two-headed monster at heavyweight division. You can't have this.
They were undisputed together. Like remember when Apollo Creed told Rocky, we got to win them back together. Remember he told him that? And it won it together against Clubber Lang?
Yeah.
So technically speaking, Klitschko was the undisputed champion. You still got to have the name.
I still can't believe that ever happened because the sanctioning bodies have to force that fight, and one of those dudes have to vacate a belt to give us an undisputed heavyweight champ. Because we need a guy, not a double-headed, two-headed.
Well, in fairness to Vladimir, he was trying. He was trying to get the Bermane Siverne fight, and it didn't happen. So, and we know what he would have done to Bermane Siverne. So,
yep, Wilder got in the way. So. We had that. We had the whole episode of, once again, Wilder forcing the trilogy, which ended up being a good fight. And then, multiple other things. But we're here now. And it's like I said on the roundtable the other night. It's big for both guys, right? But I feel like it's bigger for Fury because Usyk has become undisputed already at cruiserweight, although undisputed heavyweight champion is much different. However, he's done it, and I feel like in a lot of ways he cemented his legacy as an all-time great fighter. For Fury, and I think that's due to a lot of consistency. For Fury, there's been a lot of inconsistency. His super fans are out there saying he's the longest lineal heavyweight champion, 8 years, but we know that's not true because he was retired for almost half that time. There was that after the Klitschko fight, he disappears for almost 3 years. There was that whole run, even after the Wilder fight, some stuff happened, and we had tune-up fights when he came back, all that stuff, right? So, and he put people through a lot of stuff. There was multiple retirements, you're going to have to wait for this fight and this fight. He's put boxing fans through a lot. And because of that, a lot of people who were his fans, myself, I was one. I was his fan. I was a big fan. Have defected. We say no more. This is too much, right? But it's a lot of pressure on him on Saturday because he can erase a lot of that. Not only this is his lone division, And him becoming undisputed heavyweight championship, the first since Lennox Lewis, it puts him in rarefied air. And because of that great achievement and winning against Usyk, who people consider a top pound for pound guy and a great fighter, special fighter, it's going to erase a lot of that stuff that happened before. It's going to erase a lot of that ugliness. The Fury haters are not going to like to hear that. But if he wins this fight on Saturday, it erases a lot of that damage he did, a lot of that stock going up and down. There's going to be a lot of revisionist history, much like we saw. I compared his career arc to Andre Ward the other night. And I think that holds up because Andre Ward did a lot of good things, winning the Super Six, beats Chad Dawson. But after the Chad Dawson fight, he's in the courtroom. He's in litigation. There's 4 years in between Chad Dawson and the first Kovalev fight. 4 years where he's taking tune-up fights. He's posturing as if he's offering guys fights that he's not really offering them at the same time.
But he wants to talk shit about Canelo.
Right. And he gets a gift decision against Kovalev in that first fight. But what happens that second fight, he has his career best performance and then walks away as an undefeated fighter. And as light heavyweight champion on top of super middleweight champion. So he's able to, in a lot of ways, the victors write history. He's able to write his own history. He's able to project things like he wanted to fight Anthony Joshua. He wanted to fight in the UK, things that just were not true, right? But since he's retiring as an undefeated fighter on top, great performance, he's able to erase a lot of those things that happened before. And I think Fury, a lot of pressure's on him here because this is a huge fight for him. If he does win this fight, he's able to erase a lot of that ugliness.
Well, look, this fight wouldn't be happening if it's not for Turkey Alishii. If it's not for Saudi Arabia, this fight doesn't happen. Oh, at least I doubt it would happen, right? I don't think Fury really cared about doing this fight. I don't think he saw value in it in his mind. I don't think the risk versus reward was there for him. I think the fight he wanted was the AJ fight, which I would agree is a bigger monetary fight. So I could see why he wanted that fight. I could see why he was disappointed when AJ fell short against Usyk. And I could see why he looked at other avenues after that. But with that said, nonetheless, I'm not Doctor Strange, and we're not going to go over a lot of scenarios. We're just going to go over the one that we have now. That's the fight's happening, and I'm glad it's happening. For a while, it was doubtful, right? And hey, knock on wood. Let's hope nothing happens or something, right? Let's hope Fury doesn't slip in the shower, like you know what I mean. Let's just hope nothing happens. Let's hope his dad doesn't do something stupid again or whatever it is, right? It looks like it's going to happen, which is good. And I'm looking forward to the fight. And usually the closer a fight gets, the more I question my pick, right? Like I've created a rule for myself wherever I had winning months ago before it was official, and like that's what I'm going to stick to, right? That's it. Don't let hype videos or other people's opinions influence you. Go with that because that's usually more right often than not for me anyway, right? So the closer we're getting to this fight, Alex, it's the opposite. I'm not doubting myself more. I'm actually becoming more confident the closer we're getting to this fight. I think Fury is making a vital mistake, losing a lot of that weight. I could see why he's doing it. I understand he needs some speed to keep up with Usyk. Usyk's a lot faster than him. People keep talking about the speed of Fury. Let me tell you something. There's going to be a noticeable speed advantage in the favor of Usyk in the fight. It's going to be very noticeable. I don't think a lot of the guys he's fought are not that fast. Like they're just not. Chisora plotting. It was an older Chisora, kind of chop worn and gun shy at that point. And then you had like Dillian White, slower than molasses, like super like these. It looks like he's in slow motion. Usyk is a very quick like a cat, especially for a heavyweight, and it's going to be very noticeable. I also think Usyk hits a lot harder than people think. I am growing more and more confident, Alex, that Usyk's going to win this fight. I think I just don't see him breaking Usyk. I just don't see him overwhelming Usyk. And Usyk has the ability to move around the ring like you name him to me. What is the last boxer that Tyson Fury fought that had better footwork than Tyson Fury? I want somebody to name me who is the last dude he fought that has better footwork than him, who has that big of a speed advantage over him. Can somebody name him to me? I would love to hear it. And another thing is, he was having a hard time countering Ngannou. And I get he wasn't in shape and he's in shape this time. And I get all that. I get he got tired and maybe that had a lot to do with it. But even in the early rounds, bro, like there just wasn't anything there. And I also think, yes, he knocked out Dillian White with an uppercut. He's not the only one that's done that, though, right? And yes, he stopped Chisora, but I mean, it's whatever. Yes, he stopped Wilder, but that win isn't aging all that well, right? I think Usyk's going to win this fight, and I think he's going to win it comfortably in the cards.
Okay, so this is an interesting thing that I just saw. It's been for a while now, months, that it's been virtually a toss-up, and it still is, but Usyk has been the slight favorite for a while now, and that has flipped this morning. Fury is now the slight favorite, minus 118.
I love it.
Usyk minus 102. So Tyson Fury, that has changed this morning. Tyson Fury now the slight favorite to beat Alexander Usyk. Slight.
The odds makers are doing a good job, just like wing and lose, right?
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's similar to Better BF Bivol when that was on the board. It's a virtual toss up, which is what makes both fights great. But you can get Usyk by decision at minus 190 right now.
You know that song like "Lean on Me When You're Not Strong," right? Like that is the strategy of Fury, right? He's trying to lean on Usyk, and bro, like,
which is weird though. If that's the strategy, why lose all that weight? So I don't know about that. Like,
because I just don't think that's gonna work. Now here's the thing. I noticed some things.
Yeah, but remember this though, real quick. Keep your thought, but real quick.
Yeah.
Remember when Fury was going into that second Wilder fight and everybody was calling him crazy that he's going to walk Wilder down, but he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Right.
I think Fury does what he tells you he's going to do, and his body right now is telling you that it's not going to be. I think he has correctly sized Usyk up and said, I'm not going to be able to just hold this guy.
There's a couple of factors here, right? If we're talking about a rematch, I could see people saying, "Oh, like Fury, he's gonna strategize now." And let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that a 212-pound Wilder wasn't overwhelmed by Fury, right? Like, let's not forget that. It wasn't until Fury was actually knocked down in the 12th, got back up, and was kind of forced to like fight back, so the ref doesn't step in and stop it. Coming forward, clips Wilder, right? Comes forward for the first time to throw a right hand, and he hurts Wilder in the process, right? Yeah. Which is always something people suspect. They're like, what's going to happen when someone comes forward on Wilder and puts him on his back foot? What's going to happen? Well, he had an epiphany at that moment, and then that's why he changed the strategy in the rematch. But the problem here is this. Remember when Mayweather used to say, Triple G, just straight up and down, no special effects?
Yeah.
Well, that's Wilder, right? He's just straight up and down, no special effects. He just has a big right hand. He's trying to set it up, and it's dangerous, and he just needs to land one time, and that's it, right? I get it. But, like, I saw Parker put him on his back foot. He didn't have to get up, like, raise from the dead, like 3-4 times to beat him. Like we're going to see what happens in the Zhang fight. But one thing I noticed, Calix, is In the second fight, Fury was tired, bro. Like, he looked tired to me. But I think the fight ended in the 7th round, 6th or 7th round. It's just that Wilder was so beat up and even more tired that it didn't really matter, right? In the third fight, again, he looked tired at times. Yeah, I had to get a second win to finish Wilder off. The Ngannou fight, he looked, and I get that one. He was in such gross shape. It's not even funny, but you're fighting Usyk now, though, right? Like, now you're fighting someone who's going to keep the pace up on you, right? I think that's why he lost that weight. Because he knows I can't just lean on this dude and depend on my size and lean on it and lean on me. He just can't do that, right? And another point. Dude, like, why do I get that he came from cruiserweight? I get it. But Usyk's not this itty bitty little, like, fragile dude like people make it sound. Like, it just isn't. Usyk is going to weigh 230 pounds. And that's not, like, there's no fat there. There's no, like he's not out of shape. That's in shape 230, bro. I'm guessing that's what he's going to weigh. I'm guessing, right? That's what he weighed, I believe, in the last fight. 230. That's mobile. That can move. That's quick. Let's say it's 225. Fine. That's not that's not an itty bitty little dude. That's not a guy that's gonna get a ragdoll, bro. Like, people are gonna be surprised how he's not gonna ragdoll.
He's a heavyweight now. He's a
heavyweight, bro. Like, yeah. That's just the way it is. He's not this little itty bitty little dude. Like, he's not bigger than Fury, but nobody's bigger than Fury.
Yeah.
Right. But my point is, he's not Steve Cunningham. Steve Cunningham was like 210 and skinny. And, like, yeah, like he was a very skinny guy. Like, Usyk isn't, right? There's a reason Usyk wants this fight. Usyk knows everything we know. We know, oh yeah, he's a big guy, he's strong. He's gonna try to lean on me. Like, he's gonna have an answer for all of that.
So you think that there's something to this? Danny was talking about the 6'3" thing.
Remember he picked him up? Remember he just picked up Fury?
You think that there's something to this small guy being sort of a kryptonite for Fury, and he seems to have issues with those guys, and that's why he sort of delayed this fight.
It's
and
the speed.
He's almost been backed into a corner at this point to fight this fight, and
yeah.
Maybe he's miscalculating. Maybe he's doing the wrong thing by losing the weight and trying to play fight fire with Usyk. Because if Fury is coming in smaller, if he is coming in with less weight on him, then he's expecting a faster fight.
So that's not corrected. It was 220 for the Dubois fight, right? But here's the thing. Bro, he was hurting Dubois. The thing with Usyk, he's got sharp punches, bro. They're sharp. They're not heavy. Like, not for a heavyweight, but they're sharp. And those punches are hard to take, bro, over and over again, right? And people are gonna shred me for this. They're gonna, like, whatever. And I'm not necessarily comparing them, but it's very similar to, like, Muhammad Ali. Like, it's very sharp. He's a very sharp puncher. He just doesn't throw as many combinations as Ali. Like, you know what I mean? He's a little different. Mm-hmm. But he's a sharp puncher, right? He's gonna keep landing on the same spot. I think I honestly believe Fury is open for that right hand, bro. Usyk doesn't land it as hard as Wilder, but Wilder is so telegraphed, right? And I go back, look, like, if I go back to, like, 2 years ago or whenever before Joshua fought Usyk, right? I don't know if you remember this, but I actually said I would have picked. I was picking if they hypothetically would have done that Undisputed fight. I had Joshua win that fight. And the reason I said was because he's open to the right hand and he's more versatile, right? Usyk's going to give him a jab. Usyk's going to give him some hooks. Usyk's going to give him different angles. He's going to come from different angles on him, right? Mm-hmm. To set up the right hand on Fury. That's going to be a problem, bro. And people can talk about the jab and the long jab. Here's the problem, right? Usyk is able to move at an angle on him, right? And with your arm extended out, that time to bring your hand back. When you have longer arms and you throw a punch, it takes you longer to bring it back home, right? And Usyk is a master at finding those little windows on him, mm-hmm. right? On all fighters. You throw that jab and he finds an angle on you, Usyk's going to counter him with a hook or something, right? And he's going to set him up with a big right hand, I believe. And he's not going to do what Wilder did. He's not going to knock him down with the right hand, but it's going to be enough to keep him honest because, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but Usyk may not be the biggest puncher, right, in the weight class. But Usyk hits hard enough where you need to respect it. Mm-hmm. You can't just walk through him. You just can't do it.
It's a lot.
I'll be very surprised if he does that.
It's a lot like Loma at lightweight, right? He's not necessarily the best stopper there, 40% KO percentage, but he's going to hurt you. Everybody's going to feel the power. So a couple things. First of all, hit that like button. We're now at 39 likes. So try to get us to 50 to 60 by the end of the show. The goal is always to get to 100 after the playbacks. And shout out to everybody watching this in the playbacks, and make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button below as you're watching. But before I get deep into the stylistically and answer or respond to some of the stuff you just said, a couple things here, a couple narratives to pay attention to with this fight. The embarrassment that comes with the Ngannou fight, I feel like Anthony Joshua fixed that. So we talked about after the Fury Ngannou fight, it would be very embarrassing for boxing if the guy who arguably loses to Ngannou becomes undisputed heavyweight champion, right? Because you would consider that a black eye for boxing. But I feel like Joshua has fixed that. Sure. Because Joshua comes in there and the way he did it, right? And just absolutely annihilates Ngannou and sends him back. And I think the narrative is easier to pitch now that Fury just came in out of shape. And I don't think it's as much of an embarrassment if Fury ends up winning this fight for boxing. Also, another narrative that's been pushed for years that I never liked, and Usyk can completely blow it up on Saturday, is this big guy narrative, this new generation big heavyweight, just because they're bigger than fighters from previous eras, that they would beat heavyweights from previous eras. And we've seen this with Fury, we've seen it with Wilder, we've seen it with Joshua. Just because these guys are bigger, much bigger than guys like Joe Frazier, Marciano, guys of Holyfield, guys of previous eras, even some of the heavyweights of the 90s, that they would automatically be a mismatch for these smaller fighters. And Usyk coming into the division and having the success he has, arguably being lineal, having multiple belts, if he beats Tyson Fury undisputed, I no longer want to hear that narrative, because you have a smaller guy coming into the division and beating bigger heavyweights than Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury at that point. So that's another narrative I've never liked. And I think the exciting part is Usyk could put an end to this narrative. I want to touch on CompuBox. Let me put this up, and you can sort of zoom in on this if you want. But this is, if you go down to Final Punch Stat Report, that's the first fight. Usyk versus Joshua is what we're showing you. This is the first fight. If you look at total punches landed, you have Usyk being, or total punches thrown. Joshua actually outthrew Usyk in the first fight. The narrative that people seem to buy is both fights, Joshua being a naturally bigger guy was outworked by Usyk. But if you look at the total punch stat, Joshua threw about 100 punches more than Usyk. Power punches, you have there, they land about Usyk landed a lot more power punches. He landed at a higher percentage, and that stayed for the second fight. I'm about to show you a second fight in a minute, but a lot of those punches that Joshua threw were jabs, right? They were jabs. The power punches were a lot less. It's because of Usyk. He's keeping them honest. Joshua being naturally bigger can't throw as many power shots, etc. But the total body punches as well. After the Dubois fight in particular, the narrative is Usyk is soft to the body, and I think there's some legs to that, right? But Joshua did land punches to the body, and if we look at the second fight now, let me look at the let me bring up the second fight. Let me remove this, bring up the second fight. This is the copy box stats for the second fight. Let me see right here. Usyk did a great job in the second fight of significantly dropping Joshua's output. It went down from 600 something to 492. But one thing I felt like AJ did a great job of in the second fight, and I thought he made great adjustments. Usyk just adjusted even better to him. Was I think Garcia did a good job in his camp with them. Actually, they went to the body. They went to the body more. He actually landed 37 body punches in that fight, Anthony Joshua. So Usyk did some good things. He outworked Joshua significantly. His output went up. Joshua's output went down. Power punches, Usyk stayed similar. So Usyk has shown that he can have good output against a bigger heavyweight. He's shown that he can navigate that no man's territory that you don't want to be in as a smaller fighter coming in, right? Usyk or Joshua caught him coming in sometimes, but Usyk navigated that well, got on the inside, got to work, kept his hands free. But two things to pay attention to that could be good for Fury coming into this fight, if we compare it to Joshua, is Fury isn't as robotic as Joshua. And I actually think Joshua would beat Fury head to head. That's just me. But it's a different style that I think will be a little tougher to crack for Usyk. I think so. I think Fury is more of a freestyle fighter, and he'll be able to catch Usyk coming in better than, and pot shot him a little better than Fury. For a guy that's that size, that tall, and has those longer arms, he does fight well when he keeps his hands free on the inside fighter. Yeah. And I think he's going to catch Usyk and have more success than Joshua did when Usyk is coming in. But I do believe Fury will have success to the body as well. And that's one thing to pay attention to. One trend to pay attention to is the Dubois thing happened. Like, you could argue that's a legal body punch, and Usyk reacted to it that way, and Fury is capable of catching him with the same shot.
I don't know about that. You see, that's the thing. One, I think the ball hits harder than Fury. Right? Mm-hmm. There's no way for me to know, and I'm not going to test it out. But
and Usyk probably shows him more respect, Fury more respect.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, though. Like, and I just have to respectfully disagree with people that say Fury is like this great body puncher or a great inside fighter. I think he could fight on the inside. He's versatile, right?
But not great.
But it's not like a lot of the things he's versatile at, like they're going to be null and void against Usyk. Things that don't work against Usyk. They might work with other fighters. So that's why, like, okay, he could fight that way against Wilder, and that makes him versatile. But he's not going to be able to do that with Usyk, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The thing, yes, he could get in there and lean on you and throw to the body. But those are really, for the most part, those are arm punches. Right, still heavy, still a heavyweight. But when can somebody tell me when they seen this dude from mid-range, like Dubois, throw a right hand down the pipe into somebody's gut? Name me the fight. I want to see it. I never seen it. I never seen him do that. Because if he's 5'9", go ahead and bend those knees. You want to bend the knees because you want to throw a straight right to the body of Usyk. Like, by the time you bend, like, you already got punched in the face, bro. Like, and that's going to exert a lot of energy from him. He's not a knee bender. All right, like I'm sorry. When have you seen this dude? He fights tall, and he doesn't really give up his height until he's gonna lean on somebody.
So you just think Usyk's gonna be too underneath him? He's gonna be too underneath him, too much leverage.
I just don't see this dude landing that Dubois shot. Even if he tries it, he has different dimensions to Dubois. He has different art. Like, it's just different. Like, and Dubois just found it one time. AJ did find that shot, but again, different dimensions. AJ's a better mid-range fighter than Fury. He just is. Like, Fury's going to have to either get on his green zones are the outside with his arm length and the very inside, trying to lean on him or whatever. But he lost all that weight because he wants to fight better on the outside and he doesn't want to tire out against an Usyk who's going to keep a fast pace in this fight. Right? We're going to see that strategy works for him or not. But I'm going to tell you right now, try it.
So you're just very confident. You're very
geometry doesn't lie, bro. By the time you bend those knees, and then he's too tall to do that, bro. Somebody find me the clip of this dude on both knees, like that, like you know what I mean, like find it for it. Somebody find me where he's gonna be able to set up that straight right to the body. Now he could get some jabs on the inside. He could get some hooks, in there, and I'm not saying he can't wear down Usyk to the body, but this idea that he's gonna just fucking bam, well up to the body.
So you're not buying.
The dangerous punch is the uppercut, Alex. That's the punch Usyk has to be careful with. The uppercut on that's it. But if we know that, you don't think Usyk knows that?
So you're not.
He's gonna try it.
You're not buying the Fury magic. You're not buying that this guy is the type of fighter that fights up and down to level of competition, and since this is the biggest fight of his career, he's
yes and no. Yes and no. I do believe. Look, even if it's subconsciously, he's gonna take Usyk more serious than Ngannou, right? And we know that because there's a reason he canceled that fight. Did a fight in December because he's like, I'm way out of shape. Mm-hmm. Like, I ain't gonna beat Usyk like this, and he wanted to get in shape. Okay. So I yes and no. I do believe that he could fight to the level of the opposition, but
you feel the same about Usyk.
Kind of. Like, I just think it's you're gonna respect bigger threats more than lower threats. That's just human instinct, right? Every time Sweet Pea got knocked down, usually it was against guys he shouldn't have got knocked down against, right? He gets in there with Chavez. Chavez doesn't even knock him down because he respected Chavez, right? It's just a different mentality going to the ring. So, what I will say is this: go watch that Otto Wallin fight, bro. Otto Wallin, like I think a lot of Fury fans are in denial about that fight, bro. I wasn't even that close. Well, he cut him. He was outboxing him in the first 2-3 rounds. I thought it was a very close fight. You could argue a lot of refs would have stopped that fight with all that bleeding. I mean, it was a disaster in there, bro. Right? That scar tissue is still there, by the way. Mm-hmm. And it was reopened.
Yeah.
Right, with the elbow, that same spot, because of the scar tissue. If he's bleeding like that against Usyk, it's a wrap, brother. In fact, if he starts bleeding like that against Usyk, get your live betting. Bet immediately. Put the bet in for Usyk by stoppage immediately. Confirm it was a punch, and they don't call it a headbutt or something. No, I'm saying like immediately beat the odds because they're gonna move the line really quick, right? You're watching that fight, and that cut happens. Bet Usyk by stoppage. Put $20 on there or something. It's a tip of the day. All right? I think he's going to get cut there, bro. Yeah. I think he's going to get cut. He got cut there by Otto Wallin. Okay, he's fighting a southpaw here. I think he's going to land right there in that eye. I think he's going to catch him. I think a sharp puncher, right? I'm not saying it's like a knife, but like Usyk, it's going to land. It's going to be trickling down. It's going to be a factor. Okay, just putting that out there, and once blood is trickling in that eye, and I still think Usyk beats him, by the way, even if he doesn't cut him. But I do think he's going to cut him. I think there's a good chance.
You're selling this Usyk win pretty good. I'm about to say, but this is the thing. This fight can be one of those subjective fights.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
those are tough. It could be one of those fights where you have several swing rounds to where both of them did good things that they could go to say they won that round. And it's just what would you rather stylistically? Like, what do you like more watching this? And this could be one of those fights. So my fear is that this could be one of those fights where, let's say Fury wins, but you have a lot of people saying Usyk won. Usyk wins, you have a lot of people saying Fury wins. And this is why I think in some ways Usyk versus Joshua was that at points, both fights. Two different fights, as we just showed. Usyk in the first fight was more economical, then he was more of a volume puncher in the second fight, and in reverse for Joshua. Joshua had success to the body, did make good adjustments, etc. But I feel like Usyk gets the benefit of the doubt in a lot of those rounds, and why I'm leaning towards him more, and I'm picking him by decision is because his punches that he lands seem flashier. And that's how I felt about the Joshua fight is when Joshua was landing shots, they weren't as flashy as the punches that Usyk was landing. And Usyk at heavyweight, he just lands some very flashy shots, flashy combinations that we're not accustomed to seeing in our generation of heavyweights. Growing up in the 90s, yeah. 80s, yeah. But 2000s, 21st century, we haven't seen too many heavyweights like that who land punches like that from those angles with that volume that can snap the opponent's head back. So I just think that favors the fact that this could be a subjective fight. I would tip that towards Usyk because his punches are, I don't think people should discount that. His punches are flashier, and that plays to the judges. He just has flashier exchanges and combinations and shots that are landed, and that could come into play here as well.
Look, I think he's too sharp. Shout out to Mr. Boxing today, too, by the way. I think he's too sharp. And here's the thing, like the level of opposition for Fury hasn't been up there, bro. And I'm a firm believer that steel sharpens steel. I'm a firm believer in that. Iron sharpens iron, steel sharpens steel, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're going into fights, he was grossly out of shape in that third Wilder fight. He was in decent shape against Dillian White. I'll give him that. He looked gross. He didn't look all that against Chisora to me either. And then when Ngannou was just disgusting, right? Pick the level. That tells me like he wasn't. If you're not taking your opponent serious, why should I? Where Usyk, say what you want about Dubois, I just think that's a better quality fighter than the guys Fury's been fighting, bro. Besides Wilder, right? And then he fought Joshua twice, back to back. You know, a Joshua who, in my opinion, I still believe that rematch. That's the best Joshua's ever looked. Yes, he lost, but that's the best he's ever looked ever. And I thought
Usyk's had more of those moments, although Fury had several of those moments against Wilder. He did, and he answered the bell. So
I can't get that out of Wilder fight out of my head, bro.
I know, but Usyk has that thing. Like all of us who have sparred, all of us who have played some sort of sport, there's certain guys you don't wake up. And I feel like he's one of those guys. Like if they're coasting, you just let them coast. You don't want to catch them with a shot that's going to wake that fighter up.
Right.
Usyk has that. Usyk, when guys catch him with, or they take him to this point where he has another gear. And he's had that in several fights at cruiserweight. He's had that at heavyweight. He had that against Dubois. Dubois catches him with that, whether, depending on who you ask, a low blow, body shot, whatever it is, he steps it up. He ends up stopping Dubois. He has another gear. And Fury, you could argue, has that gear too, because he did that against Wilder. He gets up off the canvas and wins fights. But I just feel like Usyk has a gear.
Here's the other thing. The other thing is this. If Fury clips him with the right hand, and I fully acknowledge, by the way, that he does not hit as hard as Wilder, right?
Right.
But I will argue he's going to land the right hand more often. And I would also argue that you don't have to be the biggest puncher in the world to clip somebody clean and hurt them. We've seen him drop by Cunningham, right? This is a younger version of him, by the way, who hadn't abused his body the way he has, right? I don't think his balance is all that great right now, quite frankly. And maybe I'm judging too much from the Ngannou fight, but his body composition isn't really compensating. Let's just say that, right? This to me. If he's hurt, if Usyk hurts him, dude, like Usyk ain't throwing windmills at you like after he hurts you, bro.
Mm-mm.
Usyk's not like because Wilder would like lose his cool, kind of. You know what I mean? And that kind of allowed Fury to recover and whatever. Usyk drops you or hurts you, he's gonna put some punches together. He's gonna keep finding the openings while you're hurt. It's just like he did to Dubois. Just keep punishing you. He's not gonna have this knee-jerk reaction. I need to stop him now. Like he's just gonna keep doing what he's doing and maybe up the pace a little bit, kind of like what you're talking about. But Fury cannot afford, honestly, to have a moment like that. Now, in fairness, I will say this: Usyk cannot afford to have a moment like he did against Dubois in this fight.
No.
Right? Or even he kind of had that moment with AJ, even. And the reality is that if you are hurt to the body, Fury's not the guy that when you start complaining that it's low, Fury's not going to stop. Fury's not going to stop until the ref says stop. That's very important, right? And Joshua hurt him. Usyk goes like this, and Joshua stops and looks at the ref. Why? I don't know. Right? Fury's not going to do that, right? Because it's not just a robotic, fluid thing that makes Fury AJ different. I will give this to Fury. He'll get more nasty in there than AJ,
yes.
Right? I think that makes him dangerous. Look, at the end of the day, guys, I'm just giving you my prediction. I'm just telling you what I think is going to happen. Would I be shocked like if Fury wins? No, right? This is supposed to be a 50-50 fight. It's for the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world, right? Like these two guys are here for a reason. None of these two guys know what it feels like to not have their arms raised. In the pro ranks anyway, they don't know what it feels like to not have your arm raised in the center of that ring after a fight. They don't know that feeling, right? And they're gonna put in the line here. Hopefully we don't get a draw. I just put that out of the universe, but
please don't do that.
Hopefully there's no draw or some bullshit like that. Then we all lose. We all feel like a bunch of losers. But hopefully there's no. Unfortunately, it's boxing. It's a subjective sport, so the likeliness of some controversy, if it's a close fight, it's going to be there. It just is what it is, right?
So
I'm bracing for impact with that.
So I'll say it again. I've said it several times the past week. The referee for this fight is going to come into play big time. It's going to be important because what type of fight this is and plays out to be will somewhat be a result of what the referee is in there doing, because if he allows Fury to get clinchy and cagey, so to speak, then Fury can chop the fight up and slow it down a little bit. Although Fury coming in lighter makes me question whether that's what his game plan will ultimately be. I think Fury understands the greatness of Usyk despite what he says, and he probably questions the game plan, that type of game plan, because he probably questions how much he'll be able to slow Usyk down ultimately. Once again, Usyk in that second Joshua fight threw almost 800 punches. That's high for a heavyweight, especially a 21st century heavyweight. That's a lot of punches. And then the other thing is we saw what happened in the Dubois fight. Some of us think it's low. Some of us think it's not. I mean, it's somewhere in that no man's zone. So the judge, the referee, Fury is obviously going down there. He's going down there. He saw the adjustment that AJ made from the first fight to the second fight. AJ went more to the body in the second fight. Dubois went to the body. It's obviously a thing now. People think that Usyk is soft to the belly. So Fury's going to try that. And Fury's going to try that particularly as Usyk jumps in, because I think that's when Fury is going to have his most success is when Usyk is coming in and he's pot shotting him and he's throwing the uppercut in particular, like you said, can come into play here. But as he goes downstairs, how does the referee react to that? Is the referee giving him the benefit of the doubt around the belt line, or is he calling that low blow? It's another thing that we'll see. But obviously, as the bigger heavyweight, your game plan is going to be, let's slow this guy down. And how do we slow this guy down? If you can't be cagey, you slow him down to the body. You slow him down to the body. You continue to go to the body, and Fury's going to be doing that. Fury is going heavy to the body here. And if Fury does stop Usyk here, that would be the play. That would be the play, to stop him to the body. I don't think that's going to happen. I'm not predicting that. I think it's a decision fight. So just a little betting advice that I would give you once again. Will the fight go the distance? -215. Yes, I think that's decent odds. I see this as a distance fight. And also most punches thrown, Usyk -205. Much like Munguia versus Canelo, I said just take the easy bet, -220. Munguia throws the most punches. I think the same thing here. I think it's a no-brainer that Usyk is going to be the more active fighter, the guy throwing the most punches. So I think that's good odds for Usyk throwing the most punches at -205. I think Usyk is going to be successful at speeding the fight up at points. I think it becomes a very subjective fight in several rounds. And ultimately, the flashiness of Usyk's style and the punches that he lands will have the most success on the scorecards, and he wins a close decision in this fight. That's my official prediction right there. You're on mute.
Yeah, we both agree decision. You perhaps think it's going to be closer than I do.
Yeah.
But I see like an 8-4 for Usyk, something like that. But again, nothing that happens in this fight is going to like really shock me. I'll just say that. Like I'm giving you guys, I'm not straddling my picks here. I'm not.
Hopefully not. Hopefully nothing. I don't want anything controversial. Please.
Like, all I'm saying that's none of the other things I'm saying is my prediction. I give you my prediction. I'm just saying that nothing would shock me in this fight. It's just the way it is. And there's the old saying. It's some people would say it's an old tired saying, but it is the heavyweight division.
Yep.
One shot could change it all. These are big dudes in there.
Yep.
I know people think Usyk's a little itty bitty little dude at 220 pounds is a big dude. Like, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
He's a tank.
Like,
he's a tank.
He lands clean, anything could happen, right? So we'll see, man. I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yep. And there are other fights this weekend. We're not going to preview those, but Joe Cordina is on the undercard as well. And real quick prediction on my guy here.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Feliz
Navarrete.
Prospero año y felicidad.
My guy Navarrete. Navarrete is back. One of the more active fighters in the sport. Fought 3 times last year, and he's right back in May. And he has a lot on the line against Baranchyk, who could be a tough fight. It could be a tough style for him. Moving up to 135, not an easy fight to move up to at 135 from 130. This is his 7th weight class. He started off at 112. A lot of people don't know that. Multi-division champion.
Looking human in his last fight.
Yeah, looked human against a tough style in Causin. A tough year in which he fought 3 different styles: Liam Wilson, Oscar Valdez, and then Causin. I don't think he's a guy that gets enough credit. Navarrete. And I think it has a lot to do with it looks sloppy at times, but there's a method to his madness, and it's successful. The more I think about this, though, I said earlier in the week that -650 is too wide of odds. I don't think that anymore. The more I watch Baranchyk, the more I look at where he is at this point in his career, the more I think that Navarrete is going to stop him and have a successful night on Saturday night and win that belt and leverage himself into a possible unification with Lomachenko later in the year, which would be a huge fight for both fighters, a significant fight for both fighters. The good thing about Navarrete is, regardless if he wins or loses, he has a style that's going to bring people out. And that fight between him and William Zepeda, who is back in July, by the way, eventually when it happens, I think that's a 2025 fight, is going to be a phenomenal fight. but I think he wins this fight on Saturday. What's your prediction?
Yeah, like I remember the fight with Anthony Giggett, and I wasn't all that impressed. You know what I mean? With Bradchick, and like he won the fight. Don't get me wrong. That was, I don't know if anybody remembers, but I believe that was the Usyk Dubois undercard actually. And he looked okay, but I didn't say to myself, "Man, this guy's the next big thing in lightweight" or nothing like that.
Yeah, you didn't say he's a threat. Yeah.
So I think Emmanuel Navarrete. Here's some key things. Some positives from him. One, he doesn't have to worry about cutting that much weight anymore. And we've seen it work both ways. We've seen it where guys find out they're too little for the division. They get blasted out when they fight guys their size. And then we also seen guys that kind of take advantage of the fact, and it kind of benefits them to not have to worry about the weight and weight cutting. And Cotto was a good example of that at 154. Even when he fought at catch weights against some middleweights, right? You could just tell like he
refreshed.
Yeah, he was refreshed. And I'm not necessarily saying that, but I think it's at that point, but I do think they mess with the scales so he can make weight against Liam Wilson, which is a clear sign he had to move up. And we're gonna see. Like obviously, boxing's an experiment. I'm anticipating that he wins this fight easy.
I'm glad you said that though, because that's another thing. We see guys when they're clearly weight drained, they don't react to punches the same way, and there's a science behind that. There's fluid around the brain that when you drain yourself too much, the fluid's not there and you don't take shots as well. I remember when, like, I followed, Cotto was my favorite fighter, so I followed him so close throughout his career. But when he fought Malignaggi, he was so drained. It was so evident that Malignaggi hurt him in that fight. Malignaggi doesn't hurt anybody. He was so drained towards the end of that 140 run to where he became, when he went to 147, it's like, okay, that's more of the guy that I expected to see. He's not as chinny as we saw at 140. And I think the same thing with Navarrete. I don't think people are going to hurt him the way Liam Wilson did in that fight. I think he's going to take the punches well at 135. It's just, the question is, when we look at his run at 135, what will it be? Right. I think you're right. It's his ceiling. And because of that, it's going to be dicey at times, but then he's going to have great moments. And I think the reason with that is his punches aren't going to have the significance that they did in the lower weight classes. I think it's the offense that's going to be the difference, not the defense.
No, I agree with that. The other thing is this, like, Navarrete will have like a fight. It's like a pattern. Like he has a fight where it's like, oh, he looked that good. He's right for the pick, and I got Valdez, and then he puts on like a dominant performance, and I don't. It is what it is because Navarrete didn't look all that. The bias fight, he looked that impressive. Mm-hmm. Like he just didn't. Against Liam Wilson, he had kind of a dog shit performance in that fight.
Yeah.
He hit the canvas. He got a long count. Or you could argue he should have probably been stopped, right? And I feel like he wasn't at his best. Like something just seemed off, right? So that's why Valdez was like, people forget, bro. It's hard to believe, but he was like a 4-1 favorite. What that fight?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was very confident Valdez was going to win that fight. And then what happens? He goes in there and just dominates the fight, right? So I
picked Valdez too. I did. I picked Valdez too.
I don't know if anything Barancic's done in the amateurs or in the pros is going to prepare him for what he's about to see, whereas Navarrete is used to fighting textbook guys, right? He's used to that. So I think that's going to be the big difference in the fight. But, you know, maybe the jab of Barancic will give him some problems, right? But we'll see.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Another successful episode of HCP. Do us a favor, make sure you hit the like button on the way out. And those of you watching this in the archives, make sure you hit the like button for D-Style Boxing.
Giant 5, by the way. Giant 5.
Hopefully earlier than that, because I bet Jai 1 through 4 plus 900. That would be a hell of a play right there if he.
Well, here's the play I did. So I like the 1 through 4 a lot. I like the odds. So I put $20 on that. and then I put 50 on 1 through 6.
Oh, I think
that's still 3 to 1 or like the 4 to 1 odds.
He's going to make a statement, and I think Briedis is on his way out. I think he's on his way out. I think he's here for a paycheck. So
I might hit both. I might just hit one, but as long as it ends before 6, I make money.
There you go. Make sure to hit that like button for us. We out. Peace. God bless.
Feliz,
Navarrete.
feliz,
Navarrete.
feliz,
Navarrete.
próspero.